What's up, everybody? It's your boy, it's your man, it's K20 boy, it's Super K20 boy, it's the 2009 FN2 Civic boy that does all the stupid shit with the things and the places, the stuff, and the hyperactive videos that are about a million things. So this video is about my wife's 2012 Toyota Rukus Model 3 we just recently bought. So it's kind of like a quick review, my thoughts and feelings about this car, a little bit of information about the car. Oof. I'm just leaving a dodgy car park. We bought this 1 month ago, coming from a 1999 Corolla to this 2012, what is called overseas a Corolla Roomy in some places of the world, and then a Scion XB, I believe, in the States. As you can hear her. She's running a Varex exhaust, and when it's open, gets a nice little growl. So I believe these things are running a 2.4 litre engine that's in the same era Sportivo Camry. So she pulls well. And whilst I'm used to Hondas and their VTECs, the VVTi in this sounds cool when it kicks over. So if you switch it into the Tiptronic mode, or whatever they call that, where you can actually shift gears yourself even though it's an auto gearbox, and you can like hold those revs a bit longer and get into that high rev range, you actually hear it hitting the VVTi, and it sounds really cool with the sporty exhaust. I dig it. The wife doesn't like me doing it, but perhaps for the video we'll give it a bit of a blast when I get on the freeway. But where to start with this car? I've been driving a 2006 7-seater Ford Territory for some time now, and that's like the family runaround SUV. I thought it had a decent amount of room. Whoa, my camera's bouncing everywhere, I'm sorry about that. So yeah, I thought the Ford was pretty roomy. This thing is small on the outside and massive on the inside. It's so good, super spacious. The interior is just like super nice leather. Everything is really solid built. Super solid interior. Nothing rattles. Nothing feels cheap. I'm not sure what these went for when they were new. We paid just under 12 grand for this. I think it had close to 100,000 kilometers on the clock, maybe closer to 90,000. I couldn't even haggle with the bloke that was selling it. I didn't want to haggle because it was just hard to fault it. So I popped the hood, the engine looked new. And I can tell when somebody's just cleaned up an engine bay to make it look like there's no problems, and when an engine's been well maintained. And this thing was just so well maintained mechanically. The paint has some scratches. That is like the only thing we could fault. But at 11.5 grand or so, I was pretty happy to just pay what the guy was asking. Oh, let's hear that engine. Yeah, so this is an automatic. I prefer manuals, but for cruising around in the family car, auto is super handy. I'm concerned that you can't see me at all. Okay, I forgot what the shortcoming was that I was going to talk about, because I'm having a bit of fun. I don't drive in this car very often. The sunroof is massive, I dig that. I'll open it for a moment, it's going to get really noisy. And I'll just point this up, see if you can see the sky. See the stars, hear the wind. I've got no idea what the camera's seeing. Let's just close that back up again. I dig that. Massive sunroof. Every car should have a sunroof. You're not living life if you haven't got a sunroof. Yeah, this is sitting on lowered springs. I'm not sure if the body kit is stock, but it looks super cool. Looks like it's got aftermarket tail lights. Somebody tinted the headlights and then thought, I know, I'll remove the tint from the headlights with a screwdriver. So there's one downside. One of the headlights is pretty buggered, but the previous owner bought a set to replace them and gave them to us brand new, so I've just got to install those. I'm trying to think what I was going to say was the shortcoming of this car, but driving it's just so nice. I can't really think of anything negative. It's got a double DIN head unit installed that sometimes randomly disconnects. But as with my gripes about my Honda, that's got nothing to do with the manufacturer or the build. That's just the stereo that probably needs replacing because it's getting on in age a bit. Yeah, all the controls are really laid out well. Something that weirds me out is the cluster is all in the middle. So you got your rev gauge and your speedo. It's kind of like that digital style of speedo. and it looks really cool, but it's off to the left in the center, and at night when I'm driving, I constantly feel like I should be searching for a switch to turn the speedo on in front of me, because it's weird to look in the middle of the dash to locate the gauges. I'm just driving to random places now just to keep driving for this video. I'm just going to try and turn the Verex on quiet so that we can silence the exhaust. Alright, she's quiet now. She sounds stock. So that's a nice little addition to the car. Unfortunately, it's not like modified, so the engine's not sucking in any extra air to get any more grunt, but being able to hear the exhaust and then just turn that off, pretty cool feature. The main perks of this car, I think, are like how roomy it is, how nice the interior is, how nice the build of the interior is. I'm usually a passenger in this car, and it's just like really roomy and quality, and it feels way more expensive than what it is on the inside. So, I mean, it's not to say that I feel like I'm in a Merc or something pretentious. Sorry, Merc owners, I'm not implying you're all pretentious, but Mercs are pretentious. European cars are pretentious. And I love all my friends who drive European cars. Okay, let's talk a bit about the running gear. So, like I said, it's 2.4 litre Sportivo engine, and I think it's pretty much all the running gear from a Sportivo Camry on a Corolla chassis with a big shoebox on top that's full of high quality leather interior and a giant sunroof. And it's just nice to be in. It's not a bumpy ride. It's reasonably quiet, like there's none of that excessive noise coming from the wind howling past the windows or anything. Actually really quiet. When you open and close the doors and the boot, they just feel really good. Everything clicks nicely, pops open nicely, nothing creaks or squeaks. It's hard, it's probably harder to fault this than my Type R, and this is sitting on lowered springs, this particular example of the Rukus, or if you want to call it the XB, the Scion XB. They call them a toaster. I think the nickname for this car is Toaster in the States. So maybe one day we'll get some giant pieces of bread and stick them on the roof for a laugh. Probably not. Probably will never do that. It's running a lip kit all around too. It's like pretend carbon fiber, so it looks like carbon fiber, but it's just like this flexi rubber. And it adds a nice look to the car, and it makes it look like it's sitting a little bit lower. We scrape it sometimes on driveways, but I think that's pretty standard for anyone that's got lip on their car. You're gonna scrub it on things occasionally. But build-wise, did Toyota do a good job with this car? They did a fantastic job. If you're considering buying one of these, should you buy one? If you like having a car that looks like a box, yes, fucking buy one. They're really good. Top quality, top notch. Way more unique than something like a Corolla or a Camry, but it is the running gear of a Camry, and it is a Corolla Roomy in some countries, like I said. I don't want to guess which countries and get it wrong, but I feel like I saw something in South Africa. They have Corolla Roomy-ons. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on anything, because this isn't a Honda. So mileage-wise, the wife reports to me that this gets about 450 Ks to a full tank. And I think it's a 50-litre tank? Maybe 60 litres. So this doesn't come in a 7-seater, but it's got so much room in it, I feel like they could have potentially made this a 7-seater car. But I remember seeing my friend's Nissan Cube, which is probably the car most commonly likened to this, and that was 7-seater. But even in the regular seats, the front and the middle row, the regular back seats, there just wasn't anywhere near as much space as this thing. If you were to put 7 seats in it, it probably wouldn't be as, like the back seats in the boot wouldn't be ideal. But then, they never really are ideal unless you've got something massive like a Land Rover Discovery. And the 2.4 litre pulls pretty well. Doesn't feel like massively torquey, but it just pulls gently and smoothly. I never feel the gear shifts in this. Yeah, it's an auto, but you know, like with the Ford, I put my foot down, I can feel it shifting through the gears. In this, it's just smoothly pulling along. It almost feels like it's got this one consistent nice gear. Yeah, the wife's very happy with this car. I'm happy every time I pull into the driveway in the Honda and I see her car parked there and it looks so cool, and then I get out of my car and it looks so cool, and just next to them, each other, they just look really cool. We have 4 cars at the moment because we've both got our old cars, because she can't bring herself to sell the Toyota, the Corolla, nor do I want her to, and nobody wants to buy my Ford because I spent so much money on it that I've got it listed at a kind of high price for what that car is. So don't fucking buy my Ford, I'll keep it. The Corolla's got 415,000 Ks on the clock, something like that, and it's still going really strong. She blows little clouds of white smoke occasionally when you shift from second to third. So probably the piston rings are gone, but Toyotas are just rock solid. I would expect that if we hold on to this car for a long time, we're gonna easy get 400,000 out of this engine too. They're just really well built cars, and while they're not like top end by any means, like performance wise or anything, they're just rock solid built, budget sort of quality cars, mid-range budget. I mean, probably Kia and Hyundai are what you consider budget, and now you got these Chinese brands like Chery and Great Wall, I think is Chinese. Fucking trash. It's like back in the day when things got imported into Australia and they said made in China, and you'd be like, I know this is shit. That's Chinese cars look like cheap fucking shit. MGs look like they're made in China now. They're so cheap, they're probably fucking shit. Budget cars are crap. I nearly bought a Hyundai recently and I'm so glad I didn't. My missus was kind of looked at some Hyundais with me and we were like, oh, they look kind of cool. So glad we stuck with Toyota and Honda. The moral of the story is buy a Toyota or a Honda. If you're considering buying a Rukus or a Cube, buy the Rukus. Buy the Toyota Rukus over the Cube. Just, there's so much more room. And that, honestly, at the end of the day, just that alone, for if you're going to buy a car that looks like a box, those are your choices. This is way cooler. The thing that the Cube does have going for it is the unique weirdness of that back window, how it's like offset to the side. I like unique stuff, so that's why I really dig the shape of this car. It is super unique. There's not many manufacturers out there saying, hey, you know that thing called ergonomics and attractive shapes that are aerodynamic? Let's not fucking do that. Let's get a box and attach it to an engine. And that's the Rukus. But because we've got the Model 3, it's got the nice interior. So I'm pretty sure the Model 1 is like the base model with, I assume it's got like fabric interior. And then Model 2 was leather interior. And Model 3 was the leather interior with the sunroof. Yeah, so to finish the video off, in conclusion, super well built car. Just really like it, really like everything about it, can't really fault it, except on aerodynamics. But who needs aerodynamics when you've got such a unique, cool shaped car? When we first bought it, we were test driving it. We were just down the street from the bloke's house who owned the car, and a family stopped in the middle of the road as they were crossing past us to tell us how cool our car was. And then I was like, not only is it cool, but check this out. And I pushed the button on the Verex remote and it went into its little sporty growl. And they were like, oh my God, what the hell, you got a remote control exhaust. That car is the coolest thing we've ever seen. What is it? So straight off the bat, people wanted to talk about it. And I think that's one of the signs of knowing that you've got something really cool and unique, when people always want to talk about your car wherever you go. I've enjoyed that a lot, owning 1989 Honda CRXs, because they're such a unique shape. And this is just like that. So a bit of envy for my wife's car, because now my more modern Type R isn't that. I highly recommend owning one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time.